name, the course you did, and your hometown.
Okay, so name is Sam Temple Baxter. Course I did was Sport and Exercise Science, and my hometown is Lincoln.
What is Student-it?
Syudent-it is a comparison website for student housing and accommodation, focusing on the quality of the house and the student's experience.
Okay. So, what course did you do and why?
I did sport and exercise science because all throughout my childhood I played hockey and I had a really keen interest in sport. And then I just wanted to I did it through college, and then I thought, it'd be a great idea to carry it on through university. So I did, and I had a great time.
Did you enjoy the whole course as a whole while in Lincoln?
Yeah. So I graduated in 2014, and the course I did then was actually really good. Lincoln wasn't where it is now in the league tables. I think it was down about 50 odd, probably even lower. And it was a good course because it was in depth. They had good quality labs. They had good quality lecturers, and they put a lot of because they're not one of the sort of well-known universities. But now that's changed. They've become a much bigger university since I was there last.
Okay, so did you go from sixth form or college into university?
I went from college, so I actually did a BTEC at college. I've never been terribly academic.
And what subject did you study?
At college?
Yeah.
I did sports development as a whole sort of spectrum, and that sort of teaches you, how to be a PE teacher in essence.
And did that help you with your course at university?
Yes and no. About 50-50. Half of it was useless and half of it was good.
So what do you think the best A-level/subjects would be for your course?
So physiology. So, when you do about science and biology, that helps massively. They always used to say, in sixth form in biology, you'd have done this. And I was like, no idea. I did the BTEC. So physiology, biology, sports, 50% of the sports development, so learning how to coach and bits like that, and nutrition.
Okay. Can you describe what it was like to live while in accommodations while at Lincoln University?
Yeah. What do you want, my personal experience?
Your personal experience. You can either break it down in the 3 or 4 years you were there, or just kind of overall.
Okay. So my personal experience was bang average. In a nice sort of way. I lived with a private landlord, and it was his only house, and he bought it for I think his son while he was at university, and he just kept it on. We lived in the not so well-known part of town, a little bit further out from university. It was nice, cheap rent, but came with that. There's 5 of us in the house. We started off with 2 bathrooms. We ended up moving to 1 because 1 shower didn't work, and the other one was freezing. And it got worse and worse. Repairs got longer and longer, and I didn't get my deposit back. But as a whole in Lincoln, I think the market is going up. There are now some incredible places to stay. I mean, I'm based here and I see it all the time. There are some absolutely stunning and fabulous houses going up. And I've been in quite a few of them. And I was thinking, if I was a student again, I'd definitely live there. Like, the market has flipped on its head from where I was at.
Okay. So what did you think of the Lincoln area for the university as a whole? So there are a lot to do, obviously, nightclub wise, food wise, shop wise.
Okay. Yeah. Well, let's start off with nightclubs. Nightclubs, you've got your major ones. So there's about 3 or 4 major ones, right? And Lincoln's not a big city. You can sort of scale it from end to end in about an hour max now. Yeah, it used to be, obviously, it's grown out a little bit, but end to end, probably 40 minutes to 60 minutes. So there's about 3 or 4 big clubs, and it's great because you can never lose anyone. You know that they're in one of those 3 clubs. But then there's more sort of pubs and bars and stuff like that, and they are really quirky and boutiques. They've got a lot of boutique bars. In terms of shopping, There isn't a massive amount. We don't have a big mall like some sort of cities. We have one sort of smaller mall, and it's just a lot of high street independent shops, which is actually quite good, I suppose, for Lincoln, because we managed to sort of push against the bigger retailers. What was the last one?
It was nightclubs, shops, and like restaurants and food areas. Like, is there a lot to eat? A lot of selection.
Yeah, so food. I would rate food. I'd probably say out of 10. I would probably say a good 7 to 8. Me personally, you get all your normal restaurants. So there's Nando's, there's burger.
Standards.
Yeah, you get your standards right. But you can go off piste and you can go and see and get loads of boutique food. So there's loads of like little tapas bars. There's loads of like proper pub food, but sort of nice little dining experience and tea rooms. So yeah, I enjoy it.
And what were the job while you were in university? What were the job prospects like? So, is there a lot of jobs out there for students, or do you think it's more of a first come first serve and then kind of figure it out?
Yeah, when I was at university, the job market was small. Because obviously it was back in a time where it hadn't expanded as much as it is now. In today's market, there's more and more businesses being set up and started in Lincoln, and there are a lot more business already based in Lincoln. I think there's still a lot of competition, so I would say it's first come first serve still. But that's because that the university pumps out about, I don't know, good 3 to 4, maybe 5,000 graduates a year, and there's not that many jobs in Lincoln per year going. So it is quite a competitive market, but the jobs you do get are good. It's very like independent. It's not there are some corporate ones, but you're within a little community of a business.
Okay, so why did you choose to go from college to university over an apprenticeship or going right into work?
I didn't really. For me, there wasn't really an apprenticeship in what I wanted to do. So there was no route for an apprenticeship. I couldn't do an internship or something like that. So I decided to go to college. For me to get to college, it took me hours. I didn't actually live in Lincoln. I lived like an hour outside of Lincoln. So I had to get a bus in every day, and it was a nightmare. But there wasn't a route direct into an apprenticeship and then a job. So I decided to take the sort of more traditional route, if it was, where it'd be, college and then university.
Okay, and so what is life like after university? How easy is it to find a job in your with your degree?
For me personally, I struggled a little bit actually because there wasn't many sports jobs going in Lincoln. One of the biggest employers for sports was the university. They didn't have any jobs going. However, I did end up back there on an internship. They do have the football team, but I ideally wanted to be a physiotherapist rather, and that was sort of my route. But I didn't want to have to go back to university and take out another loan and different city and have accommodation costs on top of that. I couldn't do that at the time. I couldn't afford it. So that's why I decided to stay in Lincoln, and sports jobs are quite hard to come by. But I just put my head to the ground, took any job, and then just waited for a sports job to come up. And it did. And I took one for a year and then left.
And is it something why did you leave? Is it something you didn't enjoy or?
No, loved it. It was just a 1-year contract. So it was an intern at university. I was doing odd jobs before that. I went traveling and came back and took a few odd jobs to, boost the old bank balance. And then they had an internship, applied, got it, was there for about a year, and then obviously they couldn't carry me on, so I left.
Do you use your degree till today?
No. I use the experience of my degree. I talk about this a little bit on the podcast. So what I learned from being at university was just as valuable to me as my course. Because what I learned, living by myself, living with others, interaction, being in committee meetings, just having that general experience of being at university and being independent, taught me a lot. But I don't actually use my sports science degree whatsoever.
Okay. So, could you go more into what Syudent-it is?
Yeah, sure. So it is essentially the nux of it is a search platform for students to find good quality housing and letting agents. So you can go on there at any time, any point of the year, and you can have a look at what accommodation is in your city. Our base is always growing. We're ever increasing the amount of landlords and letting agents we sign up. And it's for you to have a look at good quality agents in that city, wherever you're based. Doesn't matter wherever you're based. And you can use our articles as well to have a look at what sort of information you need, how you can book that house, how you can protect yourself from the downsides, how you can protect yourself from bad landlords and letting agents, and some sort of the red flags. You can also get a comparison between the two. Like we talked about earlier, student accommodation and private rented. The differences. We sort of break down everything, but our main function is to help students find good quality housing and accommodation.
Okay. So obviously we're having a video call right now as we can't physically meet due to COVID-19. So how have you been holding up during COVID-19?
Interesting, actually. At the start, we saw a massive dip. Students weren't interested in housing. They weren't searching for it. They just weren't inquiring on it. It wasn't at the forefront of their mind, which is understandable, right? Because we're in the middle of a pandemic. The last thing you want to think about is, where am I going to live in September? But now, obviously, that dip's passed. We're a little bit more secure. We know our situation a little bit more. There's only 2 universities that I know of, to my knowledge, at this current date that have deferred their start date, and they're both in Scotland, and they start earlier. So it's actually picked up again now. So we're seeing a lot more inquiries, especially from internationals, and because they have to have their accommodation sorted before they come to the UK.
Of course.
Yeah, before they get their visa as well, which is one thing that I don't really understand. I mean, I'm sure there's reasons behind it, but you have to have your accommodation booked before you get your visa. But obviously, that puts you
in a situation.
Yeah, so I see so many international students that rush in and book their accommodation, and then go, "Oh, I didn't really want to live here, but I need it for my visa." I'm like, you could have lived anywhere, but it's just the way it is, and that's what I feel for international students, because they sort of have to they do this, but they struggle because they might not know the language. But we've seen a lot more international students start booking, and that's a good thing, because it means it shows that we're getting back to normality.
So how have you personally been holding up during COVID-19? Has it affected your life drastically, or is it kind of just every day as usual?
Yeah, good question. Personally, me, no, not really affecting me, not that much. I don't know about you, but I'm used to sort of sitting in front of my laptop, staring out a window. The only thing that's changed for me is the fact that I can't go out and just nip to the shop. You can only go out for exercise or shopping. So, but yeah, there's been times where I thought, sod this, I just want to go for a walk, or I'm going to go out of the house, and I can't get away anywhere. And there's been times where I've just, tried to, just do things to keep me busy. But actually, yeah. How have you found it?
I'm finding it well, thank you. It's just getting along, doing my university work. So as a kind of sum up, we kind of do a summary. So if you just want to kind of like everything we spoke about, so obviously what you think about Lincoln, do you suggest it? Don't you suggest it? Kind of put your Syudent-it ads with your websites, and you mentioned your podcast where they can find that, and then just so the floor is yours.
Okay. So as a summary of what we talked about and what I spoke about, firstly, if you need to find me, you can find the website at student-it.com. You can find me on social media, student-it. If you want to follow me personally, probably the best place is on LinkedIn, and that's Sam Temple Baxter. I've also got a podcast where it's just me and my long-standing friend. We sit and talk over a beer, and it's called Business Over Beers. But again, we talk a lot about the education sector and how we think, is it keeping up with technology? I won't bore you with that one. Listen to the podcast. I'm sure it'll all come real. And it's quite handy for students and graduates, because we get a lot of businesses that are employing graduates, and they tell us what they're looking for from students from when they graduate. So, perfect for students from that sense. Lincoln as a place, love it. Think it's up there in terms of cities. It's a big enough city, yet small enough place to feel the right size. University itself, it's I think it's up. I don't know what ranking it is, but it's up there now. It's forever expanding, and I think it's doing amazing things. The SU has just been listed in one of the top 10s of Syudent-it, I think. So it's got a really good SU. And my experience living, my experience was average, as I've said. But I think now at the minute, when I see the accommodation coming through Lincoln, it's revolutionary. There's so many good providers in Lincoln, and I think we're bashing out all the bad ones, and I think that's a really good sign of Lincoln.
So do you want to just put where if you want to just end it with a don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'm plugged in.
Yes, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm plugged in.
Thank you.